Part 1.
You will hear a conversation between a man and a woman discussing the repair of a television. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 5. Listen carefully to the conversation and answer questions 1 to 6.
Good morning, madam. Can I help you?
Yes, please. I bought this small TV set here recently, and when I got it home, I couldn't get it to work.
Oh, dear. Well, I'd just better take some details for this worksheet, and then we'll have a look at it.
Okay.
Here we are. Now, can you give me your name, please?
Philippa Hutton.
Could you spell Hutton, please?
That's Hutton.
Thank you. And your address?
13 Glen Avenue, Westley.
Could you spell Glen too, please?
Glen.
Thanks. Do you know the postcode?
Yes, it's WE5 8GF.
And what's your phone number?
My home number is 01748 524 965. And my mobile number is 07745 276 145.
Okay, got that. Now, did you still have the receipt for the television?
Yes, it's right here.
Let's have a look. Right, so you bought it on the 5th of June. That's 2 days ago. So, what exactly is wrong with the TV?
Well, I bought it 2 days ago so I could watch TV while I was cooking for the family. That's why I just bought a nice small one. It could fit on the shelf next to the dining room door. Anyway, when I got it back and plugged it in, there was no response. Nothing at all. No lights, no sound, no buzz.
And there are no electrical problems in that room?
No, nothing. It isn't just me. My husband is very good with these things, and when he came back, he checked the plug, the fuse, the connections, everything. He couldn't work it out either.
That's very strange. Right then, I'll have a look at it. I'm actually not busy right now. I can finish it in about half an hour. Do you want to wait here or come back later today or tomorrow?
I'll go to the supermarket across the road and get some shopping done, and I'll come back in about an hour. Is that all right?
Yes, I'll be able to tell you what's wrong by then. By the way, your job number is J25, but it doesn't matter as I'll be here when you get back.
See you later then.
Before the conversation continues, you have some time to look at questions 6 to 10. Now listen carefully and answer questions 6 to 10.
Hi there. All my shopping's done. Have you finished?
Oh yes, it didn't take me long. It was actually the first thing that I checked out, so I had it all figured out in about 5 minutes.
What was the problem then?
It was a loose wire. It's amazing that this television even got through its tests. I suppose that nowadays not everything is tested properly, and they just assume that everything will be all right. With all the things that can go wrong though, with bad connections, faulty chips, the screen dynamics and everything, it's amazing they all don't go wrong more often.
So, what can you do about it?
We can repair it by tomorrow, or we can just give you a new TV. We can send the old one back to our suppliers.
That sounds best to me. I'll take a new one, please.
Do you want the same model and everything?
Yes, please.
Oh dear. I'm afraid we don't have that one in right now, but we will be able to have it in tomorrow morning if that's okay.
That's fine. And while I'm here, I want to get something else. It's my nephew's birthday next Thursday. What would you suggest?
Well, we've got lots of things here, obviously. How old is he?
Let's see. He's the same age as my own son. He's 10 now, and his birthday's next week.
Okay. We've got lots of computer games over there. We've got iPods in the corner if he likes music. He can download music from the internet onto his computer and then onto his iPod. There are lots of accessories for computers. He could need a new mouse, a wireless keyboard, a camera to use when he's chatting. There are lots of possibilities, and it depends, of course, on how much you want to spend.
I'm pretty sure he'd like a computer game, although I know he's got loads already. I tell you what, I'll go back and ask his father what would be the best, and I'll come back tomorrow and buy something while I'm picking up the new TV. What sort of time shall I come tomorrow then?
We open at 9 o'clock in the morning. I hope our other shop would be able to send the new telly over this afternoon. They might only manage it tomorrow morning though, so come over at about 11.
I'll come an hour later at noon then, as I'll be swimming at 11.
That's fine.
See you tomorrow then. Thanks very much.
You're welcome, madam. Bye.
Goodbye.
That is the end of part 1. You will now have half a minute to check your answers. Part 2.
You will hear an introduction about sports matches. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 17. Now listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 17. Good morning, everyone. I'm Mary White, the Secretary of the exciting sports club. Welcome to attend Match's arrangement meeting. I know you are looking forward to a great season. Now, I'd like to give you a short introduction to our arrangement in this season. This season, we still have 2 competitions. One is tennis and the other is soccer. Let's start with tennis. There will be 6 teams competition. We hope the players' ages are between 16 and 22 years old. While the number of soccer teams is only 4 in this season, because we hope all players' ages are no more than 20 years old. Now, in this new season there are some changes. The first one is the venue. We will arrange all our matches for both the tennis and soccer competitions in Magic Park instead of Darry Park, which was used last year. Tennis matches will be arranged on Court 2 and Court 4 will hold soccer matches. Our match schedule: all tennis matches will be played on Sunday afternoons. All matches will begin at 2 o'clock. Soccer matches in this season will be played at 7 o'clock on Saturday evenings. The joining fee is still £30, including a new sport gear. We still offer a week of training session before formal match for our new players. There are 2 training sessions at 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. on next Friday and Saturday afternoon. The fee is only £12. Now, I'd like to introduce the coach of each training session, George Hanson, who has been supervised the tennis teams for over 4 years, will still be coach this season. While we will invite a good soccer coach who has enough patience and professional skills to work as this season's soccer coach. His name is Paul Batt. Now, look at questions 18 to 20. Now, listen carefully and answer questions 18 to 20. In addition, we offer some activities to thank all players. Please look at your brochure. There are some activities and their time arrangements. At the beginning, we hope to start the season with a barbecue dinner on next Saturday in Magic Park. I do really hope all players will go there to enjoy the dinner, and you may invite your relatives and friends. Of course, they have to pay a little fee, with just £5. And then, after the final match in the season, we will vote this season's MVP, the most valuable player. The 2 players from tennis team and soccer team will gain an honour and a prize from our sports centre. This season we hope all players can send a confirm letter to us to ensure our match arrangement. So please write to us before the deadline. It is on Thursday, 18th of April. Our secretary, David Black, is in charge of collecting fees and your letters in this season. His room number is 214 and his phone is 332567.
That is the end of part 2. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Part 3.
You will hear Jim and Jane, 2 students, talking about their professor's lecture. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 25. Now listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 25.
Jane, what did you think of Professor Morgan's lecture? I don't know about you, but I find it incredibly difficult to believe that light influences the environment as much as he says. I've never seen any journal articles, websites or anything that verifies his arguments. It's stupid.
On the contrary, I've seen a great deal of research supporting his argument from a wide range of renowned scientists. Have you looked at the recommended textbook listed on the course outline given to us at the beginning of the semester? All the information is in there. Perhaps you've just been looking in the wrong places.
I never look at the course outlines. I have so many loose sheets of paper I tend to lose anything I'm given by the end of the day. What's the textbook they recommend? And where can I get it from? I should probably go buy it soon. I'm already behind in the course.
Yeah, you definitely should buy it. And our grades are more important this year. It's called The Influence of Light on the Environment. You should be able to find it in the bookshop on campus. If not, they'll order it within 2 weeks. In the meantime, you should read up on Ken Simpson's work. He argues that in order to protect natural habitats, governments should endeavour to turn off lights in cities at night.
Well, that's controversial. I doubt any government would be willing to do that any time soon. I imagine roads would become quite dangerous without street lighting. For this issue, Dave Kepler suggests they could just replace the existing lights with more environmentally friendly bulbs. They could even install solar-powered lights. That way, roads will be more eco-friendly while maintaining safety. Although I guess they wouldn't be particularly effective in colder countries, especially during the winter.
That's quite a good idea, actually. The price of solar power is supposed to be on par with electricity within the next few decades, and it was on the news this morning. I've also heard that, according to Sharon Gray, in countries with more sunlight, insect-eating animals tend to be smaller in size. Since there are fewer insects, and the remaining insects produced a smaller number of eggs.
Yeah, I think I read somewhere that sunlight also has a negative effect on the quality of water, but I'm not sure I believe it. In many hot countries, particularly developing countries, there is a lot of water pollution caused by factories rather than sunlight. Nevertheless, Maria Jackson says that in direct sunlight, the surface of the water becomes more translucent. Therefore, it affects the amount of sunlight that aquatic insects can absorb. Not much research has been undertaken to prove Jackson's theory, but it seems to have been widely accepted anyway.
I've never heard of that. I'll have to look it up on Google. The only other theory I've studied is Barbara Swallow's study on how declined insect population adversely affects the frog population. Not that I'm complaining. I hate insects, especially spiders.
You have arachnophobia? I never would have guessed. Didn't your brother have a pet black widow spider?
Yes, he did, and I hated it. It escaped from its cage once, and we never found it. I had nightmares for months.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 26 to 30. Now listen and answer questions 26 to 30.
Okay, now I'm getting goosebumps. Let's change the subject. What's your stance on natural and artificial light?
Honestly, I'm not sure it makes much difference which one you use. Species will die out either way. I think the real argument we should consider is global warming and protection or replacement of finite fuels. Solar power provides us with an incredible opportunity to replace electricity, and governments should definitely increase spending on research in this field. The theories discussed in our lectures, like Simpson's and Gray's, are so vague and lack proof, so I don't understand why we even study them.
I see what you mean. I don't like learning unsupported theories for exams, and I'd rather spend my time learning something else. For example, I'd be much more interested in studying the animals in safari parks than researching migratory birds, particularly the effect of tourists on the quality of life of animals. As we know, every year thousands of visitors will drive in their own vehicles or ride in vehicles provided by the facility to observe freely roaming animals.
Yeah, that would be really interesting. Especially those animals living in more tropical countries like Borneo. Following on from that, I want to study how bringing animals over from foreign countries to put in our zoos affects their life expectancy. For example, do you remember when China sent pandas to Edinburgh Zoo? Apparently, one of the pandas became depressed, but it was never explained why. To me, obviously, you can't take an animal out of its natural habitat and put it in a cage on the other side of the world. It just doesn't work.
That is the end of part 3. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Part 4.
You will hear part of a lecture about how to give a quality speech. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40. Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40.
Good morning. Today I am going to cover the daunting task of giving a quality speech, a thought that makes most of us cringe. In fact, 90% of all people feel nervous about public speaking, about 10% of whom are described as genuinely terrified. Hopefully, when we are finished here today, you all will be in the 10% of the population who do not feel nervous at all. Did you know that lecturers tend to get more nervous if the speech they are giving is an important one? It makes sense, right? You probably wouldn't be nearly as nervous to address your residence hall about the proper use of the recycle and compost bins as you might be if you were asked to give the graduation speech to your entire 5,000 student class. So what is it that makes some people completely comfortable in front of crowds? Some people think that the ability to give a good speech is a gift that others are simply born with. This is almost never the case. Public speaking can be learned with practice. The first most important thing you can do to improve your confidence in delivering a speech is to prepare a quality speech. Honestly, while the content of your speech is relatively important, the audience will really only remember the last sentence you say. It is a good idea to structure the rest of your speech to lead up to this last point to really drive your message home. This is a good way to ensure that your speech is well organized. Once you are confident in the quality of the speech you have written, the rest is just about your stage presence. Let's go through some do's and don'ts of public speaking. First, you want to command the attention of the room. Do not, I repeat, do not proceed with your speech until the audience is paying attention. Even Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech wouldn't have made any difference in the world without the undivided attention of his audience. To continue with the I Have a Dream example, one of the reasons that MLK was such an effective orator was his ability to speak with passion and engage with his audience. That sort of charisma does not come from reading straight from paper. Don't get me wrong, it is a good idea to write your main ideas down on a note card, sheet of paper or something. But one factor that will consistently lead to a boring, forgettable speech is writing down your entire speech. Do not write your full speech down. If you are constantly reading your paper, you are not making eye contact with your audience, and thus failing to really express the feeling that goes with your ideas. I advise you write 1 or 2 ideas, so if you suddenly draw a blank, you have something to jog your memory. If you've written a good speech that you believe in, those ideas should be sufficient to keep you on track. Once you have those ideas written down, give your speech a few practice runs in front of the mirror, into your sound recorder on your phone, or with a friend before it comes time to address a crowd. That way, you can hear how the ideas come across, make sure there are no abrupt transitions, and find out whether you are talking too fast or too slow. Timing is important. Make sure you time yourself beforehand to see how long your speech is. That is pretty much it. With practice, you'll be able to deliver an expert speech that engages and even maybe inspires your audience. Just remember, speak with emotion. No one wants to listen to someone reading from a script. As I come to a close in my speech, I'll point out that I have employed all of these tips that I have covered. I practiced my speech ahead of time and timed it, and I can even show you my one small index card with just 3 simple bullets on it. It's as easy as that.
That is the end of Part 4. You now have half a minute to check your answers.
That is the end of the listening test. You now have 10 minutes to transfer your answers to the listening answer sheet.